perhaps while there may be a representative whose district does not have a large population that, let's say, is either Latino or Asian or African, the party, the Republican Party, has to think about this in a much more global way. And so that's why we are here today. And it's very clear, because it's one thing to have numbers, and we are numerous, but it's another thing to be organized. And so now what's been made very clear is that those who have been outside of the system for so many decades, many of us, and I'm including here, we are now in the system, able to vote, and so people who are organizing are telling elected officials, we are voters, and we are going to keep track of what kinds of policies you're going to support. And if you're not going to support policies that will include us in the process, then you're going to be voted out. And so that is something that was very clearly communicated in November, and it's going to continue that way.
I think I agree with Angela about last election was huge, especially in the political calculation of the GOP party. The fact that they are looking, and they have been very open actually on the news, saying that we need to pass a reform because that would be the way that we can basically take the anger of immigrants. If we don't pass a reform, it's going to be the party that is going to die. But one thing that I want to measure, because it's about just take this piece or just take this piece now, maybe having just a green card now and then talking later. It is the fact that it's just basically to change a little bit our mind. The fact that we became first, not about saying just want to have this little candy or this piece. I want basically to have human rights, to be able to be out of the shadow. It has been a struggle for many years. And the fact that we are being heard at this moment is because we have been very clear about those struggles and exactly about what we want. And this is why we need to be able to push. And in the way that we'll be able to push is not to say, okay, just give me this and I will not take this. It would be how well we are organizing our community. How many doors are we knocking every single day? What is the issue that is bringing to our neighborhood? I'm talking to my neighborhood every single day about the immigration reform, about other issues that are happening in my community. And that's the way that we were able basically to bring this issue to be considered even in the Senate. Just to remind that immigration reform 4 years ago was not part of the priority in the government at the presidential level or even at the Congress level. And today it is part because we get organized, and that's very key.
Yes. So I have a question about the family reunification. It is for people. It was kind of fast, so yeah. I wasn't able to. So please correct me if I'm wrong. So in order to come back or to petition to come back, you would have to have had a GED or a high school. Can it be from another country? Because most of the people that got deported were parents, and how are they going to be able to come back when the reason they came is
No, the key factor for reunification is going to be a connection to the United States, be it a spouse that is a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, or a child, that you have a U.S. citizen child that is a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. And plus, this is still just a proposal, because we all know this is not a law yet. So the details of it, let's say that this still stays in the proposal, the details which will come out in the regulations after the law is passed, then they put together the regulations, will still have yet to be seen. But I think the most important piece about the family reunification to remember is that there has to be a connection back to the United States in order to justify your being returned to the United States.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. This question in particular for Angela. You mentioned something in your speech. It very concerned me because we have that problem already in the community. That knowing that a lot of immigrants came to the country, we are new to this thing. It's a lot of things we plead guilty to. It's misdemeanor, or petty things, but any other way is fine. But when it comes to the immigration issues, it's going to block the people in the future. A lot of people have that problem. Some of them, my cab drivers, some of them could not even renew their license as we are today in TLC or DMV. Once the first license is expired, they don't have immigration status together, they cannot renew their thing. What can those people do to reverse those, how do you call it, those fines? Because they say if those fines are reversed, they cannot get any service from immigration. If they do not get the service from immigration, they will not be able to renew their license. They are driving illegally and to make a living.
Right.
What can they do?
Well, specific to the question of driving without a driver's license, after, let's say that there is reform, and there's the categories of certain convictions that will bar you from being able to apply for RPI status. I'm not sure that driving without a license would reach that level. So, but we have to wait and see exactly which types of convictions they say then are going to be, will prohibit you from applying for RPI. So I'm sorry that I can't give you a very clear answer on that, but as far as the way things stand right now, let's say if we just look at the laws right now, a conviction for driving without a license is not necessarily a deportable offense if you are a green card holder, for example. But we'll have to wait and see what the RPI piece is. Now, on the larger issue of just simply deportable offenses and inadmissible offenses, inadmissible meaning that you can't, so you're a green card holder, you leave the United States, you have a past criminal conviction, then you try to come back into the country, you go to your home country for vacation, you come back and it comes up, oh, you have a past criminal conviction that's inadmissible. So that is where we are also organizing to try and change those laws. We're trying to make sure that these categories aren't expanded within this reform. The third panel is going to speak more in detail about this. But if the reform is passed, then there is going to be a continued battle to try and educate elected officials on the fact that what they define as, and this is the biggest issue, as aggravated felony, many of those convictions are neither aggravated nor felonious. And really what we need is to have immigration judges to be able to make a determination as to whether a person should be deported or not. The problem is that these are mandatory deported offenses. So, we have to continue organizing and educating our public elected officials to not pass these kinds of laws.